The media, as watchdogs of the society, should have a gatekeeping function and exclusive ability to control what is reported. The media, which is the fourth estate of the realm, come 2023 in Nigeria, is expected to play an unbiased role through their reportage and ensure free, fair, and credible polls. Hello and welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Olujo Kemosaku, and the topic is Media Agenda for 2023 General Elections. My guest is Mr. Toby Joseph, CEO, Black Phoenix Media Limited. But before we delve into the program proper, I'd like to remind you, as usual, to please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on all of our social media platforms, and ensure you share, like, and press the notification button. Thank you. So, thank you so much, Mr. Toby, for coming on the show. It's nice having you here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, how powerful is the media in governance?
Well, that's a very, the media is a very powerful sector, especially when you want to consider a fledgling democracy. In a democracy where freedom of rights, freedom of expression, fundamental human rights, freedom of information, are germane and critical when it comes to entrenching democracy and the tenets and principles of democracy. The media is definitely going to play a major role in deepening and entrenching these tenets and principles. And you cannot talk about freedom of information and expression without the media, either it is print or electronic or traditional media, as it were, or the digital space, or what you call the media. These platforms, all right, provide the opportunity for the expression and information of information that is critical for the deepening of democracy, and of course for the good and development of the society, a state or a nation, as it were. So the media continues to play its role as the fourth estate of the realm, and that means it is very powerful. However, that power is sometimes limited, depending on the peculiarity and reality of the states. In Nigeria, for example, there are challenges that tries to hamper the power of the media, and that's the challenge. It's almost everywhere. If you go to other countries of the world, go to Rwanda, for example, you realize that there is a kind of suppression of dissenting and opposition voices, and also the media is somehow cowed. It's the same in some other African countries. Nigeria is not also an exception, even though there is some kind of liberty and freedom here. The only challenge is that the government, which controls the regulator, still uses the regulator, all right, to find a way to cow the media. So those you have the power on one side, and then you have the challenge, which hinders or hampers the power of the media on the other side.
Now, is practicing journalism in Nigeria a hard nut to crack?
It is hard, and it's still not hard. What do I mean by that? It's hard because it's dangerous. So if you really want to pursue justice, if you really want to pursue truth, all right, and disseminate same, um, your life will be on the line. So if you really want to be a thorough investigative journalist, you must be willing and ready to make a lot of sacrifices, including putting your life on the line. So that's a tough decision. How many of us are willing to die for the pursuits of truth and justice? How many of us are also willing to do same when we know that even those you want to do it for may not even appreciate it? So you see that? Those are the two challenges. Then it's easy in the sense that uh, journalists are not made, they are born. That's my own definition or my position as regards journalists. And what do I mean that journalists are not made, but they are born? It's because if you do not have it in you, you cannot give it. What you do not have, you cannot give. Are there people who want to pursue truth, no matter how hard it is? Are there people who want to pursue justice? So no matter how difficult it is, how undesirable it is. So these are the issues. So there are people who are actually born with the extreme desire and passionate mien to practice journalism. So it makes it easier for this sort of people to do it, to do the job as professionally as possible, as objectively and impartially as possible. So it's easy on that side, but it's difficult on the side of the challenges that I mentioned, which makes it nearly impossible or really difficult for you to be a thorough investigative journalist.
Okay, I like what you said. Journalists are not made, they are born. So I'm proud to be that though, because it has to do with passion. And from everything you've said, it's only someone who is passionate about it, who is in love with it, that will be able to do a balanced reportage. Right. Now, talking about 2023 general elections is actually closer than ever. We know those who we want to rule, those who are vying for the position of the seat of the presidency and their agendas. How does media intend to cover the elections without any fear of favor?
Well, it will be down to the individual stations or the owners of these media organizations to cover elections. It's not that difficult. So far, you make up your mind that you want to cover the election. Many media organizations are currently in Osun State, where Osun people are deciding the next governor in that state. Osun Decides 2022 is currently ongoing. So many media organizations are monitoring and, of course, covering that elections. But um, how far are we willing to go to cover the entire thing that will be happening in Osun State? Are they going to cover the violence? Are they going to cover the intimidation? Are they going to cover the vote buying and inducement of voters at the polling unit? So these are the issues. So that's where you also have to point out the challenge of media affiliation and ownership. All right, who are the owners of the media organizations? So how does that affect the reportage? Who are those funding the owners of the media organizations? So that affects the reportage. Who are the reporters and presenters themselves? Do they have political affiliation? Who are their backers? Who are their sponsors? Have they been induced? So these are the challenges, and that is what affects reportage and coverage of elections. But largely, I would say that they are all doing relatively well when it comes to covering of elections.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let's quickly go on this break, and when we come back, we continue from there. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, the program is Let's Talk on the Work. And I have been speaking with the CEO Black Phoenix Media Limited, Mr. Toby Joseph. The topic has been the media coverage for the 2023 general elections and the agendas that the media agencies or practitioners have. And so far, it's been wonderful discussing this matter. So, going further, the media has been charged to be apolitical in discharging their duties and avoid glorifying hate speech in their reportage. Do you think it is possible, especially with the government owned media outlets, which you actually made mention while you were telling us about the last question?
Well, it's possible. Hate speech is definitely not for us. It will never augur well for a country that promotes hate speech, no matter how volatile the situation is, no matter how charged the people are or the atmosphere is. We must do everything possible to fight and prevent hate speech to become the order of the day because of the implications and the consequences of allowing and promoting hate speech. I mentioned earlier the case of Rwanda, where
Mm-hmm.
where you have Paul Kagame, who is likely to get a fourth term very soon. And what led to the genocide of Rwanda, which of course, without focusing on the negatives, Paul Kagame has been able to pull Rwanda out of, because they've been able to rebuild and reinstill the spirit of patriotism, of nationalism in the heart of every Rwanda. And that is a success story. That recovery and rebuild is a success story of Rwanda. But we must not forget how they got there. All right, it was hate speech on radio. All right, where uh, another tribe was labeled and called cockroaches, and that they should be stamped upon and trampled upon and killed, as it were. And that brought about the tribal conflict between the Hutsis and the Tutsis. And so people started killing themselves. Friends who belonged to the two different tribes started hacking themselves to death. They were moving from house to house to look for those who were not of the same tribe, and they were just hacking them to death. So hate speech has the power and potential to destroy, to cause tribal conflict, to cause tribal war, to cause genocide, to cause actual civil wars. And so the media has a responsibility to fight it and prevent it, whether they be owned by government or owned by private investors. And so we must continue to, drum it into the ears of our media practitioners and the owners to make sure that hate speech is not condoned and not promoted in any way. So it is by continually, just like what you're doing, just continue to put it out there, continue to do that. The regulators, to be fair, are trying to make sure that that is, fought. So we want to say kudos to them. It is something that they constantly remind media organizations about, especially radio, because radio is the most powerful of the media. Why? Because almost every Nigerian has access to radio, especially if they have their phones. If you don't have a transistor radio, which is usually used in the hinterlands and rural areas, farmers, traders, they all have radio. If they don't have it, their phone also has a radio. Uh, Even if it's not an Android or an iOS enabled phone, any small phone now that the manufacturers are making have a push button that you press that takes you to radio. So radio is very, very powerful, but it has a very wide audience. It reaches everywhere. And so the government, through its regulators, focuses on radio more.
Now, what would you tell journalists to look out for? Because I would want us to quickly talk about if you have an idea of the agenda that is in place for the coverage of the 2023 general elections. So, what should the media look out for, especially the journalists who will be on the field? What should they look out for, and what have they done in the past that they should do differently this time? We know that we have. Uh, Candidates who feel entitled. We have candidates who feel they've been around for quite a while, they've been trying to get it and it's not happening. So this time they have to get it. And then we also have someone that the youth actually rights behind him due to his agenda and all these people have their agendas. But what agenda does media have to actually cover this election successfully?
The 2023 elections will come and go, and the people, the people will definitely also have an important role to play when it comes to the outcome of the elections. But what I want the media to focus on, the politicians will always engage in their political shenanigans, all of them, across the political. No one is a messiah out of all the candidates that you have seen so far that are vying for the position of president of Nigeria. None of them is a messiah. And so anyone posturing as a messiah is just doing so to hoodwink the people who are usually gullible. And then just for the person to get to power and realize that it's not a tea party when it comes to governing over a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society like Nigeria. Having said that, one thing that I want the media to focus on is to be impartial and provide a level playing field and ground for all the parties and all the candidates. That's one. Two, we need to focus on the issues, the real issues that affect development, that affect our socioeconomic and political well-being as a people and as a nation. We need to focus on the critical issues that shape our collective destinies and will as a people. And what are these real issues? The economy. Nigeria does not have a religious problem. Nigeria does not have an ethnic problem. Nigeria does not have a tribal problem. Nigeria does not have a political problem. Nigeria has an economic problem. If there's economic prosperity in Nigeria, almost half of the nation's problems will disappear. Why? Because people will de-emphasize and talk less about ethnicity or tribalism or religion. An average Nigerian that has about that maybe earns about 150,000 monthly, as against an average Nigerian now that earns about 20,000 monthly, will not bother about the ethnic affiliation of someone. What about the religion of someone? So far, his challenges or problems have been solved economically. When you set up a media organization, for example, do you care about the tribe or ethnic group or religion of your employees? Is that how you recruit? You recruit based on the competence and antecedents of such an employee. When you interview the person, you don't start asking, are you a Christian? Do you go to church? Do you do this? Are you a Christian? Are you this? Are you that? You don't start asking, are you a Muslim? Do you pray 5 times a day? Have you gone to Mecca? Have you done this or that? Are you a traditionalist? Are you an atheist? Oh, you don't believe in God. Oh, I can't employ you. You don't care about all that. But you're employing people. You focus on their core competence, antecedents, their credential, what they have done, their experience. Where have they worked? Did they meet their targets? What would they consider as their achievements in their previous employment? Those are the issues. So we need to look at that. We need to focus on the economy. These candidates that are promising us heaven and earth, what are they going to do about the economy? What are they going to do about reflating the economy? How are they going to fight inflation that is in double digits? What are we going to do with the over 40 million youth who are not employed? How do they want to create jobs? How do they want to tackle insecurity, general insecurity? How do you fight the unknown gunmen in the Southeast? How do you deal with IPOB? How do you deal with separatist groups and agitators? How do you deal with crude oil theft in Niger Delta? How do you deal with pipeline vandalism and oil bunkering in the Niger Delta? How do you deal with corruption in NNPC? Up till tomorrow, NNPC never tells you how many barrels they sell per day and how much they make. They don't give account. They don't render account. No, how do they deal with that mammoth corruption in the oil sector? How will they tackle ISWAP and Boko Haram in the north? How will they deal with bandits in the northwest? How will they unify and unite the people? How would they paper the cracks that have almost pushed the nation off the precipice? How do they unite the different ethnic groups and nationalities who now have a crisis of confidence and mutual mistrust and distrust? How do they deal with the constitution? Do they want to submit? Do they want to come up with a new constitution? Do they want to amend the constitution to face new and emerging realities? Are they planning to restructure the country? If they want to restructure, what are the things they want to restructure? When are we going to practice true and fiscal federalism? When are they going to carry out judicial reforms, a rejig of our laws? How do they tackle corruption in the judiciary? Are we going to continue with this bicameral legislature, or we are going to go for unicameral legislature and reduce the numbers of legislators in the National Assembly who got billions of our collective resources every year? So these are questions the media must ask. This is the agenda that the media must set. The real issues, the things that affect every one of us. So why should we continue to focus on Igbo? It is a ton of Igbo. It is a ton of Yoruba. This Yoruba loconism and Emiloconism or Igbo loconism or Fulanization or Islamization agenda will not help us in any way. It takes us nowhere. These are not the issues. How do we even survive as a nation before we even get to 2023 elections? And how do we survive after 2023 elections?
Thank you so much for that. We're actually running out of time. What would you advise as a media practitioner yourself and owner of a media agency or outlet yourself, knowing full well that he who pays the piper dictates the tune?
My advice is that we all search our conscience. We all should look into the mirror. Let's look into the mirror and what do we see? And ask the person we see in the mirror, are you on the path of truth, justice, and equity? Are you satisfied with what you do on a daily basis for the betterment of the people and the country? Is your conscience working? If it is your conscience clean? Is your conscience patting you on the back, telling you, well done, good job? These are the things we must do. We must make sure that we have the necessary introspection and reflection. That the Nigeria of our dream, how do we arrive there? How do we get there? What are the roles of you and I? Are we doing them one day at a time, one step at a time? Because government, as we all usually call government, is government, is government. We fail to realize that we are all government. We all have a role to play, critical roles, for example. The roles are shared and they may be different, but we all have a role to play. These are the issues. And I think if we do that, we will be able to make informed choices in 2023. I want to believe that the people are wiser, but I'm still not that optimistic that money will still not play a large role when it comes to the outcome of the 2023 elections. The same way we have allowed ethnicity and tribalism or religious sentiment to affect electoral choices in times past.
Thank you so much for your time and for this wonderful discussion. It's indeed a great privilege to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And to you out there, thank you too for being part of the show. And to all my media colleagues, I hope and pray that you'll be able to discharge your duties accordingly without any fear or favor or anything that is not actually moral. Until next time, I remain Olujoke Musako. Bye for now.